Alex Dennis.
All right, another big story today, everyone. An arrest in Mount Juliet may be putting a stop to crimes all across the country. State and federal agents worked together to bring down a man at the center of an elaborate money laundering scheme. And as Andy Cordan reports, it's a man police have run into before.
Drug task force agents tell me this is one of the most unique crimes that they've worked. One, because of the complexity of the case itself, and two, because of simply how long it's been going on.
We're going to take care of Chicago. We're going to take care of Portland. We're going to take care of Memphis. We're proud of D.C. There's nothing to take care of anymore, but we're not going to let it ever go bad. It's never going to happen again, our nation's capital.
The morning air in Dearborn was bitter cold, the kind that makes your breath visible before you've even stepped outside. At 6:14 a.m. on a freezing November morning, Warren Avenue lay quiet under the dim glow of streetlights. Most of the Iraqi-owned businesses, bakeries, cafes, grocery stores were still dark, their metal security gates pulled down tight. The neighborhood had been asleep for hours, but inside Al Rafidain Money Exchange, located in a modest brick building between a halal butcher shop and a cell phone repair store, a single light burned in the back office. It had been on all night. Karim Hassan Al-Dulaimi, 56 years old, sat at his desk reviewing handwritten ledgers, just as he had done nearly every morning for the past 18 years. His family had fled Iraq in 2006, escaping the sectarian violence that followed the American invasion. They arrived in Detroit with nothing, no money, no connections, only the clothes they carried and the determination to rebuild. Karim started Al Rafidain in a cramped storefront in 2007. The name meant the two rivers, referring to the Tigris and Euphrates that flow through Iraq, a symbol of home for the thousands of Iraqi refugees who had settled in Dearborn. His business was simple: help people send money back to family members who remained in Iraq. He charged a small fee, far less than Western Union or MoneyGram. He spoke Arabic, understood the culture, and never asked uncomfortable questions about immigration status. For refugees working multiple jobs, dishwashers, taxi drivers, factory workers, Karim became more than a businessman. He became trusted family. Elderly women brought him cash folded in handkerchiefs, whispering the names of grandchildren in Mosul who needed school supplies. Young men sent money to brothers rebuilding bombed homes. Widows transferred funds to orphaned nieces. Neighbors knew Karim as a quiet, generous man. He donated to the mosque. He sponsored community dinners during Ramadan. He hired refugees who couldn't find work elsewhere. When the pandemic hit, he personally delivered food to families in quarantine. People trusted him not just with their money, but with their connection to everything they'd left behind. But this morning, as frost covered the windows of Al Rafidain, Karim was not reviewing customer transactions or calculating exchange rates. He was staring at a single piece of paper, a wire transfer confirmation for $240,000 sent 3 days earlier through a routing number he had memorized years ago, a number that had nothing to do with helping refugees. At 6:19 a.m., he heard the sound that changed everything. FBI, search warrant, open the door. The voice came from the front entrance, backed by the heavy thud of boots on pavement. Then came the side door, the back entrance, every exit simultaneously. Karim stood frozen, his hand still resting on the ledger. For a moment he couldn't move, couldn't breathe. 18 years of building trust, of helping his community, of being the man people believed he was, all of it was about to collapse under the weight of what he had really become. The door crashed inward. If this opening pulled you in, tap like and comment, 2 rivers, so I know you're following this investigation. This story gets darker. What federal agents found inside Al Rafidain that morning did not fit the image of a small family money transfer business. The front office looked exactly as customers remembered it. A worn counter, stacks of money transfer forms in Arabic and English, faded posters showing exchange rates, a prayer rug in the corner. But the back office told a different story. 3 laptops sat open on Karim's desk, each one displaying encrypted messaging applications. A commercial-grade safe, bolted to the concrete floor, stood open. Inside were vacuum-sealed bundles of cash totaling $1.7 million. On a side table sat 11 prepaid cell phones, their screens showing recent calls to numbers in Beirut, Guadalajara, and Culiacan. But it was the filing cabinet that made the lead FBI agent pause. Inside were 2 sets of books. The first set, neatly organized in blue binders, contained legitimate customer transactions. The names, amounts, and destinations matched the records Al Rafidain reported to the state of Michigan. Thousands of small transfers, $200 to Baghdad, $500 to Erbil, $350 to Basra, the lifeblood of refugee families trying to help loved ones back home. The second set, locked in a fireproof box at the bottom of the cabinet, was different. These ledgers were written partially in Arabic, partially in numerical codes. They recorded transactions that never appeared in the official books. Transfers measured not in hundreds, but in hundreds of thousands, not to individual families, but to shell companies, trading firms, and individuals flagged in Treasury Department databases. One page listed a single transfer, $2,340,000, Beirut Commercial Trust, HC Operational Fund, HC, Hezbollah Command. Another page showed a series of smaller transactions, all routed through Mexico, $340,000, Guadalajara Import Partners, $890,000, Sinaloa Agricultural Exports, $200,000, Pacific Trade Solutions. These weren't agricultural companies, they were Sinaloa cartel money laundering fronts, and Al Rafadain had been moving their money for years. Special Agent Jennifer Cortez, who led the investigation, stood in that back office as dawn broke over Dearborn and felt the weight of what she was seeing. This wasn't just financial crime, this was a betrayal of an entire community, a community that had trusted Kareem to be their bridge home, only to discover he had used that trust to fund terrorism and drug trafficking. If you're starting to understand how deep this goes, comment betrayal and hit like, because the network was bigger than anyone imagined. The system Kareem had exploited is called Hawala, an ancient money transfer method that predates modern banking by over 1,000 years. It operates on trust, not paperwork. In its legitimate form, the process is simple. You walk into a Hawala dealer in Detroit with $1,000 and ask them to send it to your cousin in Baghdad. The dealer takes your cash, charges a small fee, and gives you a code. Then they contact their partner Hawala dealer in Baghdad, who gives your cousin $1,000 minus fees when he provides the code. No money actually crosses borders, no banks, no wire transfers, no paper trail. The dealers settle accounts between themselves later using trade invoices, bulk currency shipments, or other Hawala transactions flowing in the opposite direction. The system is elegant, efficient, and nearly invisible to regulators. For refugees and immigrants, Hawala is essential. Many come from countries with collapsed banking systems. Some are undocumented and can't open bank accounts. Others simply trust the Hawala dealer, a member of their community who speaks their language, more than they trust American financial institutions. But the same features that make Hawala valuable for refugees make it perfect for criminals. No paper trail means no way to track the money. No banks means no automated suspicious activity reports. No government oversight means no one watching. And if the Hawala dealer is willing to move dirty money alongside clean money, the criminal funds become invisible, buried in the flow of thousands of legitimate refugee transactions. Kareem al-Dulaymi understood this perfectly, and he exploited it with devastating efficiency. The beauty of the scheme was its perfect camouflage. When the Sinaloa cartel needed to move $1.2 million in drug proceeds from Detroit to Mexico, they gave it to Kareem. He would accept the cash, recording it as if it came from multiple refugee customers sending money home. He'd then contact his cartel partners in Mexico and tell them to pay out an equivalent amount to cartel operatives there. The money never physically crossed the border. The cartel's Detroit drug proceeds stayed in the United States, mixed with legitimate Hawala funds, and were later shipped to Lebanon or used to settle accounts with other Hawala dealers. Meanwhile, Hezbollah's financing worked similarly. Sympathizers in Dearborn would give Kareem cash they believed was supporting humanitarian relief in Lebanon. Kareem would send that money to Hezbollah financial operatives in Beirut, but to balance his books, he'd use cartel cash to pay out to legitimate refugee customers in Iraq, effectively laundering both Hezbollah funds and cartel proceeds simultaneously through the same system. It was elegant, it was invisible, and it funded both terrorism and the fentanyl crisis destroying American communities. If this shocks you, comment exposed below. And if you want us to keep investigating stories like this, hit the subscribe button because this gets even darker. The human cost of Al Rafadain's operation stretched far beyond financial crime statistics. In the 22 months the FBI spent investigating Kareem, Hezbollah used funding, some of which flowed through Detroit, to support operations in Syria, Yemen, and southern Lebanon. Intelligence reports linked Hezbollah financial networks to rocket attacks and training camps preparing fighters for regional conflicts. Meanwhile, the Sinaloa cartel money that Kareem laundered represented proceeds from fentanyl sold on American streets. The DEA estimated that the $47 million in cartel funds moved through Al Rafadain over 6 years represented drug sales that killed approximately 3,400 Americans through overdoses. But the most painful cost was felt in Dearborn itself. When news of the raid spread through the Iraqi refugee community, the reaction wasn't anger, it was devastation. People gathered outside Al Rafidain that morning, watching FBI agents carry out boxes of evidence. Elderly men wept. Women stood in silence, clutching their hijabs against the cold wind. An elderly woman named Fatima, 71, told a local news crew through tears, "I trusted him with money for my grandson's surgery. I thought he was helping us. How could he do this to his own people?" The community faced a double betrayal. First, a man they trusted had exploited them. Second, they feared the rest of America would see them as complicit, that the crimes of one family would paint all Iraqi refugees as suspicious. At a community meeting held 3 days after the raid, the imam of the largest mosque in Dearborn addressed a packed room. "We came here fleeing violence. We built lives. We contributed. And now we must watch as one man's greed makes people question all of us. But we will not be silent. We will cooperate with authorities. We will prove that we are not defined by criminals who hide among us." Before we continue with what happened next, I need to be honest with you. Creating investigations like this takes enormous time and resources. This isn't a quick rewrite of a news article. This is weeks of research, reading federal court documents, cross-referencing Treasury reports, and verifying every detail so we never mislead you. We're a small team dedicated to bringing you stories the mainstream media won't touch. Stories about how terrorist groups exploit refugee communities and how cartels infiltrate trusted systems. That's why we need your support. If you want us to keep making these investigations, consider joining our channel membership. Your support directly funds the research and fact-checking. For less than the cost of a coffee each month, you'll help us continue exposing the truth. Click the join button below. Your support is what makes investigations like this possible. Now let's continue with what the FBI found when they expanded the investigation. The raid on Al Rafidain wasn't the end of Operation Two Rivers. It was the beginning of the largest phase. In the weeks following Kareem's arrest, federal agents executed search warrants at 18 additional locations across Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. What they discovered expanded the investigation beyond anything they'd anticipated. Al Rafidain wasn't an isolated operation. It was part of a network, a web of Hawala dealers across the United States who moved money for both Hezbollah and Mexican cartels. Financial analysis revealed that Kareem had partnered with at least 7 other Hawala businesses in cities with large Middle Eastern immigrant populations. The network had moved $890 million over 6 years. Of that, approximately $127 million went to Hezbollah-linked entities. Another $340 million represented cartel drug proceeds being laundered. The remainder was legitimate refugee money mixed into the system as camouflage. One particularly disturbing discovery came from encrypted messaging apps on Kareem's seized phones. In a conversation from 8 months before the raid, a Hezbollah operative sent Kareem a message. "Brother, the resistance thanks you. Your work allows us to continue operations." Kareem's response was chilling. "Honored to serve. Next transfer ready by Thursday." For agents reading those messages, the reality was stark. Kareem wasn't a confused businessman caught up in something he didn't understand. He was a willing participant who knew exactly who he was funding. 34 people were arrested in connection with Operation Two Rivers. Kareem Hassan al-Dulaimi faces up to 65 years in federal prison for conspiracy to provide material support to terrorism, money laundering, and operating an unlicensed money-transmitting business. His brother Yasir faces 40 years. Cousin Rasha faces 25 years. Hassan faces life in prison for providing material support to Hezbollah. Javier faces 50 years for conspiracy to launder drug money. Federal prosecutors seized $87 million in bank accounts, real estate valued at $14 million, luxury vehicles, and business assets. For the Iraqi refugee community in Dearborn, the wound left by Kareem's betrayal remains open. Trust, once broken, is not easily rebuilt. Many refugees stopped using money transfer services altogether. Others switched to formal banking institutions, paying higher fees and navigating language barriers. Community leaders worked to distance their population from Kareem's crimes. They held town halls and emphasized that one family's actions did not represent an entire community of hardworking refugees. But the stigma lingered. One elderly refugee, Abu Muhammad, 68, summarized the community's pain. "We came here with nothing. We rebuilt. We worked 3 jobs. And now, because one greedy man betrayed us, people think we're all terrorists. We were his victims, but we are treated as if we are his accomplices." Tonight, as we step back from the raids and the cold streets of Dearborn, several truths emerge that we cannot ignore. First, criminals exploit trust. Kareem built his network through being the person his community believed he was. A helper, a neighbor. That trust became his weapon. Second, oversight matters. For 6 years, $890 million moved through a small money transfer business without triggering effective intervention. Warning signs existed, but regulatory gaps allowed the network to operate. Third, consequences extend beyond criminals. The Iraqi refugee community did nothing wrong, yet they bear the burden of suspicion and lost trust. That's the collateral damage of betrayal. And finally, this is not isolated. Hawala networks operate in every major American city with immigrant populations. Most are legitimate, but some are not. And the same features that make Hawala valuable for refugees make it perfect for terrorists and cartels. The uncomfortable question we must ask: how many other al-Rafidains exist right now, operating in plain sight, moving money for enemies of America while hiding behind the trust of vulnerable communities? If you believe communities deserve protection, tap like. If you believe accountability matters, comment accountability. And if you want us to keep uncovering what hides in plain sight, subscribe, join our membership, and share this video. Because the investigation isn't over. Not in Detroit, not in America, and not anywhere danger still wears the mask of trust.